Amandla. Amandla. I second spirit. Thank you, Comrade Chair of the session, Comrade Nyamazane. The leadership led by Comrade Pungane. The leadership of COSATU led by Comrade Mtombeni and Comrade Kwabe. The leadership of SANCO led by Comrade Nyamazane and Comrade Tundosi. The leadership of the ACCP led by Comrade, that is my senior, Comrade Micheal. He used to lead me in the unions. And the leadership of the party as a whole. And all of us comrades, as have been introduced. We will try and don't go into the details of the resolutions, comrades. The first starting point is the point where Comrade Chair of the session has started. We want to ask that in presenting these resolutions as it is the norm, you will also allow us to be able to pull together all of the reports that have been presented here, and then on the basis of that, do a refinement. Because in the shortest possible time, we couldn't be able to then pull together everything. And we think, therefore, what we are presenting is just a sum total of some of the work that we may still have to do in refining the work. The first point, therefore, we're starting with the political and administrative stability. On the noting part, we know that there is a partial exercise of leadership oversight in some of the council in KwaZulu-Natal, municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal. Secondly, that there are also persistent political and administrative failures in some of our municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal that are characterized by political instability, poor leadership, and frequent changes of administrative and political officials. The third, that there are also continued disruption and weakening of municipal institutions in some instances, as well as capacity and service delivery. And fourth, that there are vacancy rate that continues to sour in some of the municipalities, both politically and administratively, and that some of our municipalities have failed to infuse the ANC manifesto into their IDPs. And sixth, that there is a non-finalization of the grading of municipalities, in some instances also compound the administrative and instability in some of the municipalities where we are seeing that emerging in terms of organized labor making regular demands in this instance. And that there is a new culture of impunity and rampant corruption in some of instances mostly where the ANC is in opposition, and that we are not seen to be taking these up in the most relevant manner we could. The resolution, therefore, this summit resolves, one, that the ANC and our alliance partners and the progressive formations concretize and pragmatize recommendations made by the 11 regions, in other words, commissions, on the restoration of the political and administrative stability for implementation by August 2025, inclusive of municipalities where the ANC is in charge, where in coalition or in opposition. In essence, we're saying we want to be able to have a strategy that deals with all 54 municipalities, whether we are in power, whether we are partially in power in coalition with others, or whether we are in opposition. There is no municipality that we will not contest in terms of putting people's issues first across all of the 54 municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal. Second, that the ANC and the alliance partners and the progressive formations shall immediately develop a collaborative mechanism and a model between municipalities and our strategic sectors, including traditional leaders as well as labor, through which a renewed and seamless and a working relationship shall be achieved. In this, we're not only limiting to the two strategic sectors, that is the traditional leadership and organized labor, but we're also then saying we're talking about strategic sectors. In passing, it may also mean that business is also part of that, but also civil society in its entirety will be also part of that. But we are primarily prioritizing the traditional leadership and labor, so that we are able to ensure that in municipalities where we govern, there is enhanced relationship with at least those two strategic sectors. The third is that there is one center where decisions are taken, and that center is the ANC. Financial management, noting that there is a higher number of municipalities that continue to receive unqualified, others qualified, and adverse audit opinions with high levels of unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure, that some of these municipalities have prepared and submitted unfunded budgets and are unable to pay creditors, namely ESCOM and some small suppliers, within the 30 days, and are unable to collect adequate revenue from unwilling ratepayers. Two, that most of these municipalities continue to fail to budget a minimum of 8% for maintenance despite the overwhelming infrastructure failures as a result of neglect or as a result of the aging infrastructure over the years. And four, that despite an enabling and progressive legislation on public procurement passed in 2024, in general, some of the municipalities have failed to capitalize and institutionalize on the progressive nature of the legislation, which provides for set-aside based on race and previously disadvantaged individuals and communities, which include Black South Africans, women, youth, and persons living with disabilities. Therefore, the summit resolves, one, that the ANC and our alliance partners and the progressive formations must direct that local government intervention subcommittee has to provide support and intervention in the financially challenged municipalities. Two, that the ANC and the alliance partners and the progressive formations direct that local government intervention subcommittee, together of course with LNG, where I use the term local government LGI, that is actually together with the LNG, the legislature in governance, to provide support to all ANC municipalities in ensuring that the 2024 procurement regime is implemented for regular reporting to the ANC. In particular, we want to ensure that all ANC municipalities must commit to paying within the 30 days. And unless there are reasons and factors that militate against that, which are bona fide, otherwise we should be committing to pay within 30 days. Three, that the ANC, the alliance partners, and progressive formations mandate some government departments and municipalities to be the friends of the Constitutional Court proceedings instituted to block and or to nullify the implementation of the 2024 procurement regime. In other words, we are saying there is a move to actually block this, and there is currently, as we are aware, an appeal that has been taken to the Constitutional Court. And we're simply saying we shouldn't become spectators in this when we are the advocates of transformation. For that, the ANC and the alliance partners and the progressive formations should direct that local government intervention subcommittee together with the LNG to refine the reporting mechanism and processes through which the grant expenditure and management of municipal finances shall be strengthened in municipalities. And that the last one, that all funded posts in municipalities must be filled with immediate effect where such posts have been fully funded. Service delivery. Noting, one, that in many areas access to reliable water, decent sanitation, reliable electricity, and refuse removal remains inadequate, especially in peri-urban and rural areas. And that despite the national government allocating huge budgets for infrastructure development in municipalities, there is no value for money in some of those expenditures. Three, that there is a high number of genuine service delivery projects that revolve around water, roads, electricity, and housing. And 4, that there are inadequate and effective intergovernmental mechanisms to resolve service delivery challenges. 5, that the municipalities which are water authorities continue to plan for household water provision, not the comprehensive development of communities, including human settlement development. And therefore, as a result, we resolve that the ANC and the alliance partners and the progressive formations develop a province-wide service delivery plan which consolidates the service delivery backlogs as received from all of the commissions to reduce and resolve the emergency challenges, focusing on water, road, electricity, and housing, including health and education infrastructure. And 2, that the ANC and its alliance partners and the progressive formations must, as a matter of urgency, convene a water summit just to focus primarily on the issue of water provision, because it is one of the biggest challenges that is actually facing us in KwaZulu-Natal. 4, local economic development, noting that many municipalities have inadequate budget for implementing local economic development interventions, and 2, that LED programs and projects are unable to yield the intended outcomes of stimulating local economies, creating jobs, and also optimizing stakeholder participation. And 3, that only 4 district development agencies are functional in KwaZulu-Natal. We're not saying that the others don't exist, we're saying only 4 that are functional. And that municipalities continue to fail in monitoring that participants in the Expanded Public Works Program, the EPWP, and the Community Works Program, the CWP, are gainfully engaged in terms of effective utilization to assist municipalities in addressing service delivery challenges, and that instead they are being mobilized against the traditional progressive allies such as COSATU and the ANC. And that the national and provincial development agencies and entities continue to fail municipalities in providing the required strategic support. This summit therefore resolves, 1, that the ANC and our alliance partners and the progressive formations direct all ANC regions to hold LED Indaba to develop clear programs of action to advance and promote LED initiatives in the region. And we want to have practical programs that begins to respond, comrades. We're not being idealistic here. We want to talk about tangible things. One of our major difficulties is unemployment. To what extent we are able to respond meaningfully at a local level on the issue of unemployment. And if we don't respond, comrades, there's no way we are coming back in 2026. We just have to be knowing that this is one of the challenges facing us amongst many. 2, that the municipalities must prioritize their LED budgets to create sustainable LED initiatives that will result in the creation of jobs and sustainable development. Now the ANC must engage the following departments and ministries to leverage the LED initiatives: employment and labor, human settlement, water and sanitation, small business, higher education and training, COGTA, transport, Transnet and Sunrun, the public works and infrastructure, and land reform and agriculture, and trade and industry and competition. I must say, Comrade Chair, that in preparation for this, we had invited some of the ministries to be part of this, and we will continue even post this to have an extraordinary session, because we want to discuss these things that are coming out of these reports and have a plan that can assist municipalities. And that we should ensure that the district development agencies that are there all are functional in all regions. And particularly where we have an ability to influence those decisions to make them functional, we should. Even when we do not, because we are in opposition, we must become very vociferous in raising the issues. Okay. That the issue of Itala, as per our own program of action, should continuously receive our attention in KwaZulu-Natal, because it is important that we should act in the interest of all of our people who have invested, then deposited their monies with Itala, and that this issue should continue to receive the attention of the leadership, particularly of the PTT. The review of the white paper on local government, noting one, that the 1998 white paper on local government transformation has sustained the country since 1998, hence the need for a review. Two, that despite the reforms which were envisaged back in 1998 and the ANC's inability to capitalize on the local government reforms, as challenges within local government have compounded. Three, that the political landscape characterized by the GNU arrangement requires that the ANC treads with caution in deepening the local government transformation agenda. Four, that the review of the 1998 white paper on local government provides an opportunity for us to treble its efforts in reflecting the past experiences in terms of changing the material conditions on the citizenry participation, accountability, transparency, ethics, trust, corruption and state capture, service delivery, urban integration, rural development, public and private finance, institutions and collaborative governance. And that the review, therefore, of the 1998 white paper on local government requires that the whole country should then focus on the whole RSA constitution and the treasury outlook on local government fiscal matters must also be reviewed as communities continue to be vulnerable. And that the anticipated reforms and or amendments to the 1998 white paper on local government transformation must then be adopted as it has been indicated by March 2026 before the local government elections. And that there is a need for the ANC and its allies, as well as progressive formation, to ensure that by the 30th of June 2025, submissions are made. Resolutions. This summit resolves, one, that the ANC and its alliance partners and progressive formations shall make a comprehensive submission on the review of the 1998 white paper on local government, focusing on inter alia the following thematic areas. One, review of the demarcation processes, number of municipalities, in other words, the configuration, the two-tier local government system, which is a two-tier system, the district and local municipalities, the municipal fiscal and financial reforms, the funding model, inclusion of local government in the public sector, the role of traditional leadership and what role could be then allocated to traditional leaders as a way of integration of traditional leadership governance system into the whole system. And six, the procurement system, which would be open to public scrutiny. That the ANC and the alliance partners and the progressive formation must consolidate all recommendations made by all the 11 commissions for the onward submission to COGTA by the 30th of June this month. In other words, at the end of the 2 weeks next week. So we do that. And that the white paper must be transformative and have to build the capacity of the state. So we are saying, comrades, on the other matters, we will then work to integrate them, but we could only capture these few with the time we have, and we also know it's a Sunday afternoon. We don't want to turn this into becoming a graveyard session. So that being the case, we are presenting those recommendations, and I'm presenting on behalf of